How to handle constant family chaos. You perhaps have constant havoc within your own home right now. Maybe it's your home made up of husband, wife, children. Maybe it's your home made up of mother, father, brothers, sisters. I don't know what the makeup of the home is. It could be grandparents, nieces and nephews, aunts and uncles. But whatever, maybe you are living with a mother and her father and sisters and her brothers who consistently react against one another. Is it possible that your present family consists of people who live in a house that resembles a bomb shelter waiting for the attack? And sometimes there's nothing much you can do to help it. Linda Stubblefield and I were talking this morning about how we don't argue with our husbands. And it's a real blessing. And neither one of us are to be credited with that fact. Our husbands won't argue. It is very, very difficult to argue with someone who won't to argue with you. They just won't talk. And that's exactly what her husband does, and that's exactly what my husband does. He just doesn't talk. So if you happen to be in a home of havoc, one way you can help it is to not argue and just not talk. Some of the points I discuss will help you if you fall into one of the categories I've talked about, one of those kinds of family situations. It might be just a husband and wife. But I'm addressing this particular talk to those who fall into another group of people. There's a type of woman who happily marries, is blessed with a good husband and children, and has the best life she's ever enjoyed, only to be pulled at by a family back home who stays in constant chaos. Sometimes she lets her present family suffer and come to the point of going under with her and sinking and going under with her and her sinking ship back home. The letters and telephone calls from back home report that sister's pregnant, not married. Dad needs an operation, there's no money. Brother is on drugs, and mother is checking into a mental institution, or some reasonable facsimile of the same. There is a type of girl who is miraculously saved out of a family of incest, drunkenness, or thievery, gets saved and actually makes it to a Christian college, only to find it impossible to do her work and keep her schedule because the calls and letters keep her so torn up, ones that tell her of the latest episodes of her family. May I suggest something for you? Number one, saturate yourself with a particular dose of Scripture. Saturate yourself with Scripture verses which can give you the steadiness you fail to receive from your family. Matthew 6:30, 1 Corinthians 15:58, Philippians 4:4 through 8, James 1:8, 1 Peter 5:9, 2 Peter 3:16 through 18. First, cut out these verses or type similar ones that would help you more than the ones I've chosen, and then be sure you do choose verses and get them ready right away. Or go ahead and cut out mine if you don't get your own ready right away, until you can get your own ready. Now tape the verses on the refrigerator. Do you have it? Now, if you fall into this category as someone who's messing up your own family, or the relationship of you and your husband because of brothers and sisters and mom and dad constantly pulling on you with all the problems of the chaos of a family havoc situation, then get the verses. Take the ones I suggested, unless you have your own ready. Cut them out. Tape them to the refrigerator, over the sink, on the wall above the bathtub, on the car visor, on the bedroom mirror, and on the medicine cabinet. It'll look tacky, but don't worry about it. I'd rather you'd have a tacky house and a tacky car than to have a tacky life and a tacky family because you don't know what to do when all the calls and letters come saying, we need money, can you loan money? Your husband doesn't know what to do. You don't want to go back on your family, and you say, I'm their only hope. Next, consciously look at the verses every time you are around them. Read them aloud. In this way, steadiness will become a part of your life as the verses on steadiness become a part of your life. Number two, plan on few dramatic changes. God certainly is capable and does choose to work seeming overnight miracles. Usually we look around and see that he chooses to work through more gradual processes, however. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, Isaiah 28:10. If there's a big dramatic change in your family, be happy about it. However, don't live your life waiting for everything in the whole family and during a Christmas vacation. Don't decide that because the drinking has stopped back home for 6 months that they're not going to be. I hate to be fatalistic. I hope I'm not sounding fatalistic. But if they've been alcoholics all their lives, don't figure that because they've stopped drinking 6 months that you're never going to have that problem again. Hopefully not. Enjoy this time. Don't look for trouble. But be the same whether they're drinking or whether they're not drinking. And don't let everything fall out from under you, and don't ruin your own family members in your own home if they do start drinking again. The family members have been becoming what they are over decades and perhaps generations. Basing your happiness on a complete and immediate change of your whole family is not too realistic. Why not ask God for a complete miracle, but also ask His help to see a little step taken by one family member as a miracle? You see, we want a mom and dad and 6 children, all to immediately be a model Christian family. Why don't we get excited about one child saying, I'm going to come visit you, one of your brothers or sisters, I'm going to come visit you, and then saying, I think I'll stay here for a while, and get into a Christian school. That's a miracle. That's usually how it works. You were pulled out of all that was going on, and now another brother or sister's being pulled out of it, and maybe another one, until maybe you'll gain your whole family. And if you have an instant dramatic miracle, praise the Lord. But remember that a little baby step is also a miracle. Number 3, center your life on those things which are most constant. The Bible, soul winning, and prayer have been the same and will be the same forever. They will always thrill your heart and soul. If your family is up, you can go soul winning. If your family's down, you can go soul winning. If your family's up, you can go to sleep saying Bible verses. If your family's down, you can go to sleep saying Bible verses. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. Hebrews 13:8. Number 4, stay as constant as is possible. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Proverbs 31:27. Stay as constant as is possible on your job or in your school, in your church, and in your homemaking responsibilities. If the rest of your family is in chaos, your steadiness is needed more than anything you could do for them by giving up or shirking your responsibilities. Working with a Christian college and being with Christian college girls, I can't tell you how many times girls have come crying to my office saying, my family's in trouble, they need me, I'm going to have to quit and go home. And I said, look, the best thing you can do for your family in the world is to stay right here and stay steady. And as they've done that, and they stayed here, stayed in a Christian college, gotten their training, they've seen maybe another brother or sister come and do the same thing. And the day has come when they've had enough training that they're really able to go back and help their family. They're really able to know in what way they can best help their family. But if they run home at every telephone call, whenever someone gets drunk or whenever there's been an accident, and oh, how many accidents there are in these families that are loaded with chaos. It's worse than any soap opera that you can ever imagine. I mean, there's even more knife cuts. There's more home accidents because of the fact that they have not grown up knowing how to take care of themselves. They leave things out and laying around, and some kid comes along and pulls a butcher knife out and it cuts his toe off. Unbelievable things happen. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of you have a lot of things happen to you, and you're not this kind of family. But there's going to be many, many accidents. When you're a type of family that doesn't take care of your home, you don't take care of the things in your home, you don't take care of a car, you don't see that there are good tires on the car, you have blowouts on the car. And there's no transportation to work. Then there's no paycheck. Or maybe there was even somebody killed in an accident and the insurance wasn't paid. So there's a big lawsuit. There's always going to be some big mess at home. If you want to help that family, stay as steady as you can. Don't make your own husband and your own children suffer unduly because of the fact that you came from this type of family. Sometimes the parents will call and cry, and they let us know there's been some kind of accident, but the kid stays in school, and one of your young sisters is watching you. If she sees you stay steady over the years, watch for her to really be somebody special. If you went home, you probably couldn't make a dent in the problems, and you might sink with the ship. Gain a few years of maturity and ability and get ready to help when they really need it and can take it from you. You'll have time to learn how to help them help themselves. There's only one kind of real permanent help, and that is helping people learn how to help themselves. I was talking just a few minutes ago with a man who has a child who has meningitis and is suffering with that, always will, from the effects of it. And he was talking about helping her to be disciplined in life and how people think it's cruel. But actually, the greatest help permanently you can give anybody is to help them learn how to help themselves. Maybe we're this thing of wanting to be a heroine and wanting to be the person who can run and jump and take care of everybody. Maybe that feeling is way too big in us, and that we're only feeding our own ego when we want to go run and help instead of helping them know how to help themselves. You'll learn that many accident-prone families are going to be able to learn what to do if they find that neglect brings a way of life that they don't like. Those families who are in constant health problems over periods of years are in that state due to reasons which you could not help if you were home. I hesitate to say this because there are families whose members have all suffered over periods of years who do not fall into this classification at all. But you also know those families who do not dress well for winter weather. They have no regular eating or sleeping habits. They drink alcohol, smoke, take drugs, and they're going to have uncalled for health problems. We know that the person who's overweight is going to bring on uncalled for health problems. No one they are not brought on by anybody but themselves. Homemaker, be sure you keep as stable a home as possible. Try to not overreact to your biological family's lack of discipline, but do try to live by schedule for the sake of your husband and children. Number 5, be especially sweet and natural to those who seem to be responsible for your family being in chaos. Maybe you think it's your dad. Maybe your dad's been a drunk all his life, and everybody calls him, he's a town drunk, and you believe he's the one responsible for all the chaos of your family. Perhaps he is and perhaps he isn't. You don't know what happened to him to cause him to be the way he is. You don't know what happened in your parents' early marriage and what kind of thing led him to start the drinking. You have no idea, so there's no way to judge this type of thing. But whether or not he's responsible, be as natural and sweet as possible to that person. They already hate themselves. They already feel miserable. They don't need you looking down on them. If your family's chaos seems to be mostly because of one person, go toward that person. No one else is going to. If you're ever going to see them change, you probably are going to have to accept them where they are. They are no doubt miserable. They are suffering through everyone else's contempt. Down deep, they're even against themselves. You before them. God can help you before them. You might say, "There's no way I could be for that person." I've had girls tell me I can't stand my dad. I can't stand the sight of him. I blame him for everything that happens. Then I received a sweet letter the other day from a young lady who said, "Will you please pray about my dad's drinking? It's worse than ever, and I fear for my mother's sanity and for her health." And said, "I'm only sharing this with a few people," because she said, "My dad, in every other way, is one of the finest men and one of the finest dads that there could possibly be. Because he is coming to church with Mother, I would wish you would keep this confident, because I don't want people looking at him and his feeling more miserable than he already does." I thought, what a wonderful attitude that girl has. And by the way, may I ask you, even though you do not know who it is, that you might pray for this man, that he would somehow gain the victory over this terrible thing that's causing his whole family so much sorrow. You say, "Well, why doesn't he just take care of it?" I don't know. Why don't we take care of some of our problems? Why don't you take care of the problems that's causing so much sorrow in your own family, that's going to cause you an early death because when you really know better? I don't know why he can't take care of it. All I know is he's going to take care of it better if we care about him and accept him as he is. Number 6, accept your whole family as they are. And we know that all things work together for good for those that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. He put you in the family. He placed you and allowed you to be in the family of which you're a part. And your bitterness toward being in that family is going to cause you to have a bitter life the rest of your life. You'll never have another family. You can think you're a part of someone else's family, but when it comes right down to it, you aren't. Some other family might take you in because they feel sorry for you. They might have taken you in. But you are not a part of their family. You were put in a family, and that is your family. God allowed you to have your own family for a reason. I don't know the reason, and I feel a bit smug sitting here saying this. I have a good dad and two great sisters. I'm more sorry than you know that you don't have a supportive family. I always have had. My mother was supportive of me. She's gone to be with Jesus now. But I've always had a supportive family, so I really don't know whereof I speak. But I do know that it works. Sometimes I've let it tear me up when I've seen people who don't have a supportive family, and it's hurt me so bad. And I know from talking to many hundreds of young people that they don't have the kind of family that I would wish for every young person. Every time I go to see a nursery being fixed up by one of our young ladies at the college and one of our young staff members and see how pretty it is and clean and how they've got the bed already and they're awaiting the arrival of the little one, I always think I wish it were that way for every child that's being born. I wish there were. It doesn't have to be much, but I wish every child, maybe they went to the Goodwill store and bought the little crib, but they painted it and fixed it up and made it, and they're preparing for their baby, and they want their baby, and they may not have a lot of money to give their baby, but they have a lot of care, and that baby's going to be somebody because the parents already think the baby's somebody special. And I never go to see a little nursery fixed up that I don't wish it were that way for every child that was ever born, but it isn't. And I don't know why it isn't. I can't tell you why it isn't. I just know that I can help more by keeping my equilibrium and helping you keep yours by saying that sometimes a man's foes shall be they of his own household, Matthew 10:36, and that he that findeth his life shall lose it. He that loseth his life for my sake shall find it, Matthew 10:39. Number 7, at times you're going to have to limit your time with your family. At the most chaotic times, at the times when you're weak, you may have to limit your time with your family. Wives, your husbands may be able to help you pace your visits in a way which will be of the most help to your parents and the least hurt to your husband and children. A great Christian worker that I know shared with us one time that he and his wife hated to take their two boys to see his father. They knew they should, and they wanted the boys to know his father, but the father always felt scared when the family was coming, and by the time they got there, he was drunk. And they just dreaded the trips to see his father. I don't know why that great Christian worker had a father like that. I have no idea. I don't know why he had to choose those times. I've worked with girls who are so scared that their weddings are going to be ruined when their families come drunk. I don't know why. I don't know why they have to have that in their family. I don't know why I didn't have it, and I didn't have to put up with it, and some of you do. But I do know that you and your husband and children can be stronger people because of the fact that you keep your equilibrium. Maybe you have to limit your time with your family, but decide that you're going to love them no matter what. You're not going to be bitter, and always pray and do for them. Some of you can never stay in your family home overnight because of the terrible things that take place during the night. Some of you listening to me probably won't believe me, and I don't expect you to believe me. And you might think that the girls who talk to me are making these things up, but I know they're not. I know there are girls who could not go back to their family home overnight, and women who could not go back to their family home overnight, having to worry what's going to happen to them when they go to sleep. Maybe as a result and as a victim of their own father. Maybe you'll have to go visit your home just for 2 or 3 hours during a certain time of the day before the drinking starts. It hurts me to have to say these things to you because I've never known of this. I don't know what it's like. But I work with an awful lot of people who have to do this. You can always love them. You can always send them notes. You can always think on reasons why they have the problems they do. Unless you already worry over this too much anyway, then maybe you shouldn't think. Maybe you already are kind toward them and love them and worry over them. Then you don't want to set your mind on the reasons why they're like this. But if you're bitter Think about why they might have these problems, and pray and ask others to pray for them. Number 8, how to live with constant family chaos. You relax. Again, I guess I feel so stupid saying these types of things because I haven't had to practice it. As the Chinese lady said to me once when I said, rejoice always, she said, easy say, hard practice. And I guess that's true. When I sit here and say you can relax about your family, when you are getting phone calls and you're getting your sisters and brothers calling you asking for money, saying if you don't send them money, they're going to go, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and one of them's going to take his life, and you have that kind of thing happening to you, it's hard to relax in the midst of a barrage of the latest goings on of your very own flesh and blood. Knowing that not you, but the Holy Spirit is the only one who can change any part of your family's ways can help you become more relaxed. Think back on your life throughout your whole life and remember that these threats that are made by telephone, as they find that you've made it a little bit more than they have, and these calling up and making it hard on you, remember that it's happened all your lifetime. And be able to say, Lord, now I'm putting them in your hands and I'm going on back to bed. I'm not going to wake up my family and make my family a nervous wreck and cause some of them to go down the drain too with my own family. I'm going to relax and let the Holy Spirit take care of them. As you become more calm, you'll be able to be used by Him to help more in a permanent way. Maybe your family isn't as chaotic as I'm picturing some. And I truly believe some of you don't know that this is really true, and it's not just the families on Skid Row or something. I'm talking about some families you probably know, but just never have been on the inside of to know how chaotic they are. However, you may have a family that hasn't stayed on one job long. They've moved many times for very little reason, not because they're in the military or not because their companies moved them, but they just keep moving. And they never have had a house you could enjoy. You don't have any roots. The Lord knows how you feel. Ask Him how to help you about your family. He didn't even have a place to lay His head. Constantly relax in Him. Tell Him how much you want a family. Let Him know what your needs are. And perhaps the family that you make can be the best family that anyone can ever imagine. A boy in our school named Duke Morales told us the other day when he was in a Catholic orphanage over in Cherville, Indiana, Boys Town in Cherville. He used to sit with the nuns on Christmas Day, and the nuns would say, your daddy's coming, and he'd get all ready and put on his tie and be sitting there with his brother Ralph, and it'd be later and later, and his dad didn't come, and the next Christmas they'd get ready again, and he'd never remember, and he'd always believe his dad was coming. And he said, Ralph would say, you know Daddy's not coming. You know better than that. He won't come. And Duke said, yes, he is coming. Yes, he is coming. Year after year he kept the hope. And later he found some of his brothers and brought them to church with him. But one thing that made him decide was that if he ever had a family, he'd stay with them for Christmas and every other holiday too. We wanted on July 4th to picture this and say this is a country where a boy can grow up in an orphanage and where the dad doesn't come, maybe isn't able to, maybe emotionally, we don't know, some reason or other wasn't able to show up year after year. But this is a country where he can still become somebody special, and he is. He's assistant to the Dean of Men at Hyles Anderson College. And on that 4th of July, when we wanted him to tell his story, he said sorry, he was with his family. And it made me feel so good. We acted out the story with other people. And Duke was with his little daughter and with his wife at the home of his wife's parents. And I thought he's doing just exactly what he said he was going to do. He's going to have a family. Some of you who hear preachers say, now, girls, you're going to be just like your mother. In most cases, that's true. But he'll turn around and tell you, as he himself, our preacher, will turn around and tell you as he knows from such experience, that you don't have to be like your mother, girls. And if your mother's an alcoholic or dad, in this case, Dr. Howe's dad was the town drunk, you can decide I'm going to be completely different. Just don't overreact and don't become so rigid that you hurt your family in that way. Decide you're going to learn what's important, and that you were put in that certain family, in that family of chaos for a certain reason, and that you're going to react in a way, not react, but act in a way that will even make your family proud of you someday, and where that you can go back to them and they don't feel that you're looking down on them, no matter what their problems are. Number 9, avoid guilt feelings. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in him. Psalm 37:23. The devil and even well-meaning people will cause you to feel guilty for not going back long enough to sink with the ship. Even a lot of Christian people will tell you, your folks called, now go, you should stay by them. And you're young yet, you haven't had any training, you're not able to really help them, and you know it. Just wait, and the Lord will let you be able to rescue a part of the ship in time to come if you stay in His will and don't go sink with the ship. Number 10, give your family to God, so that every one of us shall give account of himself to God. Romans 14:12. Put each member of your family into the hands of God. Maybe every night before you go to sleep, think through every sister and every brother, and maybe each one of their spouses if they're married. Think through every nephew and every niece, and realize your responsibility to them. But consciously put each one into the hands of God, and say, God, take care of them tonight wherever they are, and let me go to sleep and get my sleep, so that I can be everything to my family that I should be. Do not attempt to take personal responsibility for the lives of your family. You may have to give them to God anew every time a new word of confusion comes your way. The other night, a girl I work with said we got a call about 1 or 1:30, and a cousin was out over in Chicago and was stranded, and somebody called us from way back home and asked us to go down there and give a certain amount of money to him. He was stranded and no money, and he was supposed to send it back in a week. We got up and put our clothes on and went down to Chicago and met him at the bus station, I believe it was, and gave him the money. And he said he'd send it back, and he's never sent it back. What should we do? Remember this: if you are going to help your family, especially with money, if they're asking you for money, don't expect them to pay it back. Whatever you give them, give it to them as a gift, and then you'll never have to feel bad about it when they don't pay you back. Don't put yourself in the way of feeling more bitter toward family members. Don't ever want anything for yourself. If you don't want that much for yourself, then you're not going to make it so that you have to dislike different members of your family. If you know there's going to be a fuss and a fight every time you get around your family, and there's a death, and everybody's going to get around and fight over the things that are left, don't want anything. Then you'll come away from it feeling fine. And your husband and children won't have to see you hurt because you didn't get that one particular thing, the only thing you remember from home that you really wanted. If you get something, fine. But if you don't get something, you're all right too, because our happiness doesn't depend on things. Our happiness depends on seeing our family as happy as they can be. If God's given you an opportunity to learn His Word, then you don't need that thing you wanted. But they do. They need it more. It's the only thing that they have. If they need help and you have a little bit of money and want to give it to them as a gift. But don't always feel that you have to give them money when they ask for it. They'll keep asking until you'll resent them and not want to help them anymore, and not even have the little respect left that you do have for them. Give your family to God and let Him take care of them. And this constant family chaos won't have to tear you up. Let everything be done decently and in order. Thank the Lord for the family He put you in. I haven't known until the last 6, 7, 8 years. I didn't know I had such a wonderful family. I just took them for granted. They're just a regular family, and in fact, I thought they were kind of funny in some ways. Guess they thought I was too. I didn't know until I began to talk to hundreds of people in counseling. I mean hundreds. I had no idea what a wonderful family that I had. You who do have a good family, and you're not quite as close as you used to be, you're responsible for them. Find ways to get to them, not by buying them, not by giving them money. That's probably the least way in the world that you can get close to them. But every time that you can think of something, if one of them, you know I like redbirds, don't you? Well, one of my students this summer saw to it that he had his camera ready and green trees in the background and a redbird perched on a telephone wire. He took the picture and sent it to me. That was a way of drawing close to me. In my mind, I said, this boy thought about me and what I like and what I teach. If you have a sister or brother who has a particular hobby and you see some article in the paper, cut it out and send it to them. If you don't have much in common now with your brothers and sisters because you're in a different life from what they are. Think of all the things you had in common as you were growing up. How could we ever get so far apart from the people that we grew up with? There has to be a way to go back toward them in the right way that will make us all stronger. I have a set of aunts and uncles that I don't visit, I don't see, they don't write me, I don't send them Christmas cards. I send them Christmas cards. Sometimes we exchange Christmas cards. But as my growing up years, I remember so many things that happened. There were some problems in that family. My grandpa was sick a lot, and there were some things that weren't so happy that happened because it seemed like when we got together, he was sick so much. He had a leg taken off, and the nerves were never right, and he had to have so much help from doctors, and then he still just was in so much pain, and there were different problems in the family that way. But now that family, it seems like I'm so away from them. And I thought, now how can I share with them now? They don't want to hear it. I don't think they want to hear about my life now particularly. We do something completely different. Our life's completely different from what theirs are, but there's so many things we shared as I grew up. And I sat down and started writing after each aunt, Aunt Agnes, Aunt Velva, Aunt Isla, Uncle Dean, Uncle Raymond, and I started writing down things that were happy that I remembered about them as I was growing up. I used to walk up to my grandpa's 2 blocks away and walk to school with Aunt Agnes, who was his youngest. She was a senior when I was in kindergarten. I had so much fun with her, and I'd forgotten all about it. And I wrote down about 10 things about each aunt and about each uncle that I remembered. And then I had it all typed out so each one could share with me what I remembered about each one of the others. And I sent it to them, and then I found their picture of their family home. And I had it made so I could send to them so that they remembered the house they were in while I was growing up and telling the memories I had with my aunts and uncles. And I thought maybe it would make them feel closer to one another. One's in California and just lost his wife, and another lives in Colorado, and they are so far apart. If you don't have a family that's in constant family chaos, why don't you get near to them some way or other? You don't have to go spend a 2-week vacation with them to let them know you think about them, let them know that they were a part of your background and a part of your roots. It's really funny that we had to wait until the world came out with a book like Roots, until there's a lot of emphasis on family trees and going back and finding out. Now, too much can be put on that. But to just forget your family when they've meant everything to you and done everything for you that probably has been done for you is just too much. And if you would know a little bit about what's happening in families today, you'd be thankful for everything your family's done for you. Thank the Lord for the family He put you in. Learn both positively and negatively from them, and stay by them, even if it has to be from a distance. I suppose every tape that you listen to from me will be stay, 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 don't quit, wait. Those words they seem dull and routine, but it's what the world's looking for today. Some people who are steady. Some people who are just there year after year where you don't have to think, well, what are they into now? You know what the wording, the slang is now. What are you into now? Don't be into anything. Add to your life, but keep all of the old things that are good. And if you had some family values, maybe not everything in your family was good, but if you had some family values you gained from your family, keep them. I'm having so much fun adding different things in my life that that I enjoy. I've always loved trees, and I've always loved the woods, and spent a lot of time looking at them and just sitting under them and climbing in them when I was a kid. And I've always loved them. But then I've added the wildflowers, and I can't believe that every month how they change. And one month there's purple and blue, and one month there's gold, and one month there's white and tiger lilies and different kinds of lilies and different colors of lilies. But don't give up the trees when you take up the wildflowers. And when you start looking at it and really seeing different birds, don't give up the wildflowers. Just keep adding. What a blessing, what a joy your life can be if you keep what you got from your family and keep adding all the rest of your life. It's a lot of fun. And you say, well, what do you talk about? If you don't gossip, and if you don't do things that are wrong, things that are considered sinful, and things that are going to hurt you, what do? The world is full. I called my dad the other day and I said, Dad, if I haven't been seeing, I saw a rose-breasted grosbeak the other day. And I said, if that bird's been around here all this time, and I'm just now seeing it, it makes me wonder what else I'm missing in the world. And he very seriously said, I don't know what you're going to do about it, because the world's full. And the world is full. God made it that way. You may have constant family chaos, and you may have to live in the midst of it. But the world is full of things to explore and enjoy. We have the Bible. We have all of nature. We have, when I talk about an inexhaustible book, we have hundreds of books besides that are fine to read, fun books. We have fun things that we can do. We can enjoy a million things. And I asked the Lord the other day, I made a prayer. And I said, I don't usually make prayers. I don't usually write them down, but once in a while I do. And I wrote down this prayer and I said, Lord, let me see things other people don't see. I said, Lord, let me always have enough sense to stop when a big turtle's crossing the road, when other people don't even know enough about their environment to know a turtle's trying to get across. And I said, Lord, let me not think that a florist rose is a flower and a long-stemmed Queen Anne's lace along the side of the road is a weed. And I asked the Lord to help me never to get more excited about visiting, just looking at Bourbon Street in Louisiana, rather than a gorgeous tree in Baton Rouge that's the size of about 20 trees in one. I want to be able to stand under it and love it more. I don't mean to participate in Bourbon Street in New Orleans, but I mean to even see the street. People get excited about that. I want to get excited about a tree. I want to be able to hear a different call of a bird, and as my life goes on, and perhaps sight is taken, I wish I would be able to hear the birds. If I can't hear them and can't get the different distinctions of the different kinds of birds, I wish I'd be able to go out and touch the bark. Some of you who are listening to me are blind. Some of you are having to have people tell you what this tape says because you can't hear. They're interpreting for you with their fingers. I'm so glad you can see their fingers. I'm so glad you can get what I'm trying to say. I sat down in church the other night, a little bit sorry for myself. I wasn't feeling too well. And a boy came to sit down with me. He couldn't have been more than 25 if he was that old. And he put his head down with one of those little tiny telescope things and opened his Bible and had to take the little telescope instrument and word by word read the scripture that the preacher said to read. And here I was able to just take it in at a glance with my peripheral vision, all line by line. I was so thankful that I could do that. And I wrote him a little note. And I said, I wish I could give you my eyes just for tonight. I can't say I wish I could give them to him forever because I didn't. But I wished I could give them to him for tonight. And he took out his little instrument and had to read that word for word. And I watched him as he laboriously went through the reading of that note. And I wanted to see what his reaction would be. It took me about 5 minutes, and then he turned to me and smiled. And it took him that long to read that note. The preacher announced a hymn, and he got the hymn book out, and I didn't even want to sing. I was tired, and I didn't even want to turn to the hymn book. He got the hymn book out and followed word by word what the song was with that little instrument. And I felt a lot different about being in church that night. Maybe you've come from chaos, but there's an awful lot of good in the world. There's an awful lot that you can count on. There's an awful lot that's always going to be there. because God sees to it that we have a life, and it's filled with abundantly. Jesus came that we might have life and have it more abundantly. And he wants you to have the abundant life. Don't major on the chaos of the family. Don't dwell on it. Don't tell everybody about it. Don't give the last episode to everyone you know. Every time you go over it, it's another groove in your mind. It's deeper and deeper. And you begin to feel worse about yourself and wonder if you can ever be anything, or your own family can ever be anything. Take in the news, give an encouraging word, send a note of love and encouragement, ask one dear person who loves you and will be keep it in confidence to pray for you, and then don't constantly be going over and over every new thing that happens in the life of your family. I can just know that with some people, I'm going to hear a new episode, and I listen because I particularly am interested, because I try to counsel people. But I know that most people don't want to hear it again. And so I'm asking you, don't think on it. Don't dwell on it. And again, I have to apologize for asking you that, except that I've pointed you to the Bible and to the inexhaustible riches of it. I've pointed you to trees and flowers and birds. I've pointed you to good things, to good feelings, to good things that can happen. And I believe that if you'll use all of those, and if you'll take all the points that I have given you, I believe that you can really live through a whole lifetime of constant family chaos. Your constant family chaos could be because of sickness. As I was talking about Keith Fry on one of the tapes, seems like about every couple weeks there's a new infection. There's a new reason why he's probably going to die. He's in a coma, but now his blood gases have gone all askew. I don't even know what blood gases are. And all of a sudden, come to the hospital, he's dying, and he has to go to intensive care. Now he's in intensive care. And then he goes back to the room, and it looks like he's okay again. And then he has pneumonia. And then they decide he has to be put on a respirator. And every few weeks, there's a new episode in the life of a person who's critically ill like that. It can sap your strength. It can absolutely take everything that you've ever had. I'm thankful to say in this case the family is grounded in the Word of God. They visit that boy 2 and 3 times a day. But they go on with their life, helping others, and seeing to it that they go ahead. They invite some of our college kids out the house, and Mr. Fry plays the guitar, and Mr. and Miss Fry sing with them and have fun. Of course, their hearts are breaking, but they still go ahead with their life and do as much as they can that's just regular, and live their life as regularly as possible, whatever can happen to you. There is nothing that takes a place like this going ahead with your regular schedule. Don't go to bed with a sick headache. Don't decide you're just going to sit down and give up. Get busy and do what you can about something you can do something about, and pray God will take care of that family of yours that seems to be in constant family chaos. God will help you. I know He will. My aunt was telling me a story about blue buntings and talking about loving birds. She said one day Uncle Carl came in off of the mail route, and he said, "Leela, get ready. I'm going to show you something. A surprise." She thought, "Oh my goodness, where are we going?" She got all dressed up, and here he had all this mail route, a long mail route to go out on, and come get her, and went 13 miles out to Crider, Nebraska, to show her a nest of blue buntings. She said there must have been 13 out there, and he saw to it that he got her and took her out to see that nest of blue buntings. If you're thinking about things you enjoy, if you're seeing to it that you have many, many interests in life, if you're learning new crafts, learning new things you can do for people, you're not going to be so down on your family, on your own life, that you're going to have to think about this constant family chaos. Ask the Lord to take care of you. Ask Him to help your family. Ask Him to bless you. And He can do some perform some miraculous and dramatic miracles, and He may choose to do so. But if He doesn't, ask Him to give you peace of mind and heart, and to see to it that you do what you can about your own family. You can live through constant family chaos. You might find that dramatic thing happening because of the fact that you decide to court your family. When a boy starts courting a girl, he tries to think of her interests and plan things that will really make her excited. He wants to take her to the restaurant she would like to go to. Sometimes when we get a completely different way of life, that we think, well, we can't be interested in some of the bad things they're interested in, so we just forget about trying to find out what they are interested in. We don't even know. Sometimes we don't even know what our husbands enjoy. We have no idea. They just haven't expressed themselves because they didn't know anybody would be interested. And the same thing is true. We don't know what our sisters and brothers or moms and dads really enjoy. Make it your business to find out what they enjoy, and when it's at all possible for you to enter into that, enter into it. And get in there and court them. Don't bring them into a place of non-acceptance. If you know that you have friends who are not mature enough Christians to accept your family as they are, don't mix them. Don't bring them around. There are very, very few people possibly that are mature enough to accept a family who is in constant chaos. And so watch that and don't put them in embarrassing situations. Maybe you say, well, I'm not embarrassed. They're my family and I'm proud of them. That's good, and I hope that's the way you feel. But don't let them feel embarrassed because of the fact that they feel the non-acceptance of your friends. A lot of Christians are pretty judgmental, and they're pretty rigid, and they want everybody to go by their set of standards and their code of ethics, and if they don't, they're going to let them know that they don't want anything to do with them. They don't have, instead of maybe letting them know they just don't want their code of ethics, they act like they don't want them either. Be interested in their interests. It'd be surprising what would happen if you'd let your husband guide you with your family. These husbands are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. We say, well, it's not my husband's problem. If it's your problem, it's your husband's problem. And sometimes he can be less objective, more objective, and can help you know and can guide you as to how to help your family because he's not so emotionally involved with them. But he wants the right thing to happen, and he wants the right thing for you. And why don't you share with your husband some of your feelings and ask him step by step what you should do when things come up that make you feel so bad and cause you to wonder how in the world you're going to live out the rest of your life with this family of yours that's causing so much trouble and in so much trouble all the time. Some of you might choose to say, I'm forgetting them. That's the only way I can handle it. I got to block them all out. Hopefully you won't have to do that. If you again go back over this tape and try to think and apply to your own life some of these things, you won't be able to apply them all. But some of them will work for you, and you can accept them, and you can find ways that you can win them and have a good relationship with families that you don't feel like you have a whole lot in common with anymore. Holidays are an especially trying time, and I realize that. And many times you think, well, that's one time of the year that I can go to the family reunion or the family gathering and maybe things will be all right and there won't be so much trouble. Don't depend on it. Just plan on your going in just for a short time, being nice to everybody, getting around to everybody. Possibly you'll be able to make a gift for everybody. Some little remembrance that you've been planning throughout the whole year. And you're not nothing again that you're trying to buy them with, but just letting them know that you thought about them throughout the whole year. There's a myriad of things you can do for very little money or no money. Maybe you got to take a vacation, or maybe you went down like I talk about going to the sand dunes 30 minutes from our house. Maybe throughout the year you can pick up a certain kind of shell that you like and make something special for the little girls in your life. And if you're not one who can make something, maybe someone will help you. Maybe you can exchange with a friend and you can do something for her while she does something for you. I wish I could, I can't tell you enough how much I hope that you can keep a decent relationship and even improve on that relationship without hurting yourself or your present family. And I think I could give you 100 or 150 ideas, but I think more that I'd like for you to sit down after listening to this tape and think up everything you can think up. What I say to you might limit you. I might say something that would seem good for me and you think, well, I can't do that. And so then you're limited in your thinking and aren't able to go ahead and plan on what you could do that would be the best to let your family know that you still think about them, even if you're not with them, and even if they really realize that you're not compatible with them in many, many ways. It's your mom and it's your dad. It's your sisters and your brothers. It's your aunts and your uncles. It's your cousins. They're your family. It's your extended family. You're responsible for them. You're not in that you have to. The Holy Spirit does the changing of their lives, like I said. But you still have a certain responsibility toward them to let them know that you care about them and that you're not disowning them in any way. Stay steady. Stay by them. Let them know that somebody cares. You may be the one who will make the difference.